Welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia, episode 184. I'm your host, Ryan Black, and I am joined by Joshua Taylor, and we are back, and we are playing with power. Josh, you doing great this week?
I'm doing just fine so far.
Good to hear. So, this week, not a lot has happened, but there's something that's very, very, very special that happened to Josh, and that is his favorite company, Ubisoft, had their direct, their presentation, what's the word they used?
The Ubisoft Forward, as they called
it. So, let's get into what we are Radical Rexing about. Now, I would be guessing that you're Radical Rexing about this Ubisoft presentation. I know you got to see some more Valhalla. I know you're pretty excited about that. So lay it on us.
Yeah, so that's part of it. To make a long story short again, of course, I'm getting more and more into how do I put it? I guess games from Ubisoft. I have someone over the years anyway, but yeah, for the forward unfortunately there was nothing. I was supposed to be doing some of the news for Nintendo Village, and there was like nothing Nintendo Switch news related, so to speak. There's a couple little updates to Just Dance and Trials, which is a really cool game, but that was really it. But I guess the three big ones was, I won't talk about it too long since none of them were on Nintendo systems, but was Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is my most wanted game right now. It comes out in November. And Watch Dogs Legions, and I guess Far Cry 6 would probably be the other one in that mix there. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for a lot of those. I've never really played Far Cry before, so I don't know how that's going to go, but we'll get there. That's next year anyway. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed, obviously. I recently mostly had beat the Rebel Collection on Switch that consists of Black Flag, which is awesome, probably my favorite of that series, and Rogue. And I'm looking into Unity next since it's on sale on the Xbox. So long story short, I'm getting more and more into that, and yeah, I liked a lot of what I saw there. Their presentation was really nice. It was nice to see something like that with the lack of E3 this year and the mostly lack of Nintendo Directs in a while, or at least not much substance to what they have put out. We had that Treehouse Live thing, whenever that was last week, and I kind of like the concept of it. Like the Treehouse doing something every once in a while instead of it just being an E3 thing. So I guess that's cool, but I don't know. I feel like they were kind of spoiling more of the game than what they really needed. Like they've already showed us a lot of stuff, so it felt a little bit unnecessary for Paper Mario. But also maybe just I don't want to stick on this too long, but the surprise reveal at the end. I think they shouldn't have tweeted what they did because I think it gave unrealistic expectations for everybody. I know you shouldn't do that anyway, but it did really. I don't know. I think everybody was just really expecting something big, and then it was that. I think it's Bakugan or something.
Bakugan, yeah.
Yeah, and I just feel like everybody was like, "Oh man, it's going to be this or that," and they did come back and say it was going to be a third-party property, but still, that left open a lot of cool stuff, and that was just. I don't feel like they thought that through very well. Yeah, just my little opinion on that. To move away from all of that stuff for a second, this week I've been getting back into doing my DoorDash stuff a little more. I'm trying to build up, a little bit of cash to possibly get like a good PC or something to really be able to be productive in things like this, in writing, and just in future endeavors. I don't know what all that consists of yet, but I feel like that would really do us a lot of good. So, been super busy with that. I also have my daughter's birthday party coming up soon, which we let her choose the theme, and she chose Christmas.
Huh.
So it's Christmas in July. I thought that was pretty cool. um, so yeah,
Hmm.
it's of course interesting with the whole COVID thing still going up and down and everything. In West Virginia,
Hmm.
they just moved it back down to where you're not supposed to have more than like 25 people in the same place. It is an outside party, so we're scrambling trying to figure out details of how this is all going to work out because we have a lot of family.
Yeah.
But
I think we could all use a little bit of Christmas cheer right now, so I definitely understand that.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Well, so I do share some of your sentiments about the treehouse being cool, but at the same time, getting spoilers is not cool. I did not watch it because I didn't want to spoil anything from Paper Mario. I want to be completely surprised. I just hope to catch what the extra stuff that they showed later, the Bakugan thing, which I'm kind of glad I didn't sit and watch it anyway. I was working during that time, and I didn't really feel compelled to go back and watch it. I don't tend to watch the treehouse unless they say, oh, there's a big game getting ready to show, and then I'll look at it. But I just don't want to get things spoiled for me, and then I won't enjoy them as much. Honestly, it kind of ruins the experience in the moment. I don't get my emotional feels from things when I already know what's happening. And I kind of felt that like when I played Metroid Prime. Was it Metroid Prime 3? When I first played a Nintendo Fusion Tour, I got to take down Ridley. And so, like, when I actually got to play Metroid Prime 3 and do that scene, like, it was already done. Like, I'd already done it, and so it didn't have that amazing feel to it anymore. And I wish I would have seen it in context with the whole package when I was experiencing it as it was intended to be experienced. So that's kind of my takeaway from that. Now, what am I Radical Rexing about? Definitely enjoyed me some of that crazy direct stuff that they did over there at Devolver Digital. Yeah, Devolver Digital. That was an interesting presentation, as it always is every year. Very gory, and very like, what the heck is going on? Like, it's set inside someone's like psyche. They're like going direct straight from inside someone's mind, and it messes with your head. Some crazy things go on, and they've always put really like out there wacky videos, but also I kind of enjoy the storyline for all of them, despite all of their over the top grossness or like kind of shock value. They say some things that are really like analytical of the current state of the industry. They brought on like my uncle from Nintendo. And he was talking about all these sweet things he heard about, and it was kind of cool to hear that. Something about Kirby being like going through a divorce or something. I don't know, something stupid like that, but it was just quite an experience. And then they announced that they made a game that was essentially, you can play this. It was free to download, and you can actually go through a abandoned convention center like E3 and visit the different booths that Devolver Digital had for their different games that they presented. And you could like pick up some of the items in those games and things, and kind of walk around, pick up weapons, and just kind of explore these giant booths created in this digital world. And it is so meta. I loved it. Every bit of it. They do such like, they blow your mind, really. I may not like their games 100%, but they've got one coming up. It's actually going to be on Switch. Basically, you're the Stranger Things monster from the last season of Stranger Things, and you're taking out all the bad guys. You can mind control some guys to take out other guys, and it's, I guess they're good guys or whatever. But it's really cool. Like, you storm through these facilities and grow larger, kind of like a 2D Katamari Damacy. Or Katamari Damacy, or how you say it. Yeah, it's very much like a Katamari Damacy vibe, but more kind of 2D-esque gore the pixel work looked really good. I was pretty impressed by that. Their content is an acquired taste. The very in your face kind of shock value is really what they go for. But I enjoy their directs and their presentations. It's definitely a breath of fresh air. One of the big things that they said that they're not even going to be releasing games. Nobody wants the games. They just want the hype from the announcement. So they're just going to announce all these games that don't even exist. And they just got really ridiculous. It was amazing to see all of that. Gosh, I can't say that it's for all audiences. It definitely is not. Like, you have people exploding and fake blood throwing all over the place, and I'm sure there was some vomiting somewhere in there and just gross stuff. But the banter is just it's great. And if you can follow it, kudos to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely a slow Nintendo week, isn't it?
It is. I know we just set up for like a good M-rated episode. It's not, but like I was talking about, a Viking video game coming out and Watch Dogs and whatnot. Now you're talking about that, so we should have done like Perfect Dark or something. But that is not what today is about. But,
well, I don't know about the gory side of things, but this game that we've got to cover today is definitely gross.
In its own special.
This week we are covering WarioWare Mega Micro Games for Game Boy Advance. This game rolls on out of nowhere on the Game Boy Advance in 2003. Came out May 26th in the US. Looks like EU came out May 23rd, so they got it first. Japan got it even sooner than that. It's weird because it's like just a couple days within each other. They staggered this game, and I remember hearing about it, and you didn't really have a virtual console. So, but you could play these mini micro games, bite-sized versions of Zelda and Mario, and I was like, what? I'm sold. I'm definitely going to play this game. It looks so like random and wacky. Let's do it. I'm all in. So I purchased this game, and I loved it. Every bit of it. I can't tell you why. It's always stuck with me. Like, I'll never, ever place a Wario game on a tiered Nintendo chart, ever. But I'll never put down a Wario game because I always pick it up and play it. It's just so much fun. Bite-size micro games you play, and they get progressively harder and faster, and they test your reflexes and help you get better as a gamer. I just love that. Josh, what is your first experience of the game?
Yeah, so the first one here, I vaguely remember. I know I got at least near release, and I mean there really was nothing to compare it to. I feel like at the time when I heard mini games, I would think of something like Mario Party, but this is definitely not Mario Party. Yeah.
The games are shorter than that.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just about the mini games. I mean the style itself is kind of weird in its own way. Anyway, Wario is basically the only returning character from anything else. Everybody else is unique, and he even has like his own different outfit for this and everything. So it definitely had its own unique feel. It didn't feel like a Mario spinoff, so to speak.
I mean, I feel kind of bad for those people that expected like a Wario Land game, but this is kind of the direction they decided to take him in. Very, very innovative. I love that they went out on a limb here and made these types of games. And the cast is definitely quirky and colorful, and they put a lot of personality behind them.
They did, and like Ashley for one, like she has her own theme song. And then you've got like 9 Volt that's got all the Nintendo themed games, which were always my favorite. I might even talk more about those later, but and then I'm trying to remember the dog and the cat's name, but like their taxi driver. Was their taxi driver this one?
Spitz, I think.
Yeah, Spitz and Dribble.
Drivel. Okay.
Jimmy and things like that.
Yeah.
So there was a cool mix of characters.
There's Mona, Kit and Kat, the ninja kindergartners. I think they are preschoolers. I can't remember. They've grown up over time. So,
Yeah.
Ashley hasn't actually appeared in Mega Micro Games yet. She was in the second installment, or maybe it was the third installment.
Oh, I'm wrong.
Ooh, I don't remember. I don't remember if Tilted had her in it, or if it was introduced. If she was introduced in the DS game, Touched, which was.
You're right.
I can't wait to do an episode on that one because that's gonna be fun. But Dr. Krygor, and then Orbulon, the space dude, was your cast of characters. And there's some other characters that appeared in mini games. There was the Fly Swatter. You could play that old Fly Swatter game, which I think was actually pulled from. Was it a Mario Paint mini game or something?
Oh yeah, that's where I knew it from.
I think it was.
Yep, Mario.
Because I didn't actually play Mario Paint, so I never knew about the Fly Swatter thing. That was my first experience. It was experiencing it in WarioWare. And then Bird and Beans, also known as Pyoro. It's a fun kind of like Yoshi-like character. It's got the long tongue and it eats like what I called seeds. And it was cool. Definitely arcade feeling game. There was a paper airplane chase. I don't remember much about that. I'm just trying to. I know there's been some mini game or micro games that they put in later Wario games that references the paper airplane stuff.
It was like a see how long you can survive, like going down this big drop, like turn
Yes.
real quick before you hit the wall. It's
Okay.
kind of hard to explain without actually showing a picture of it, I guess.
And that's the thing. Like the WarioWare packaging. Like you play through the games. And you basically do the whole thing. The whole game is unlocked. You play a little bit, you unlock more. You play a little bit, you unlock more. Then there's like hidden Easter eggs galore that you can unlock. A bunch of different mini games. Some things that are just like, what the heck is this and why is this in the game? Like in later series, there's like Meowtroid and there's what is that? They put like broken things in later games like the DS game where you got like a calculator but it was missing some buttons or something or it couldn't add up to a certain point and like things that didn't quite work like a piano that didn't have all the keys and like strange decisions. They give you like weird tools and things like that. But in this game, it really did focus on just the micro games and they had a few Easter egg bigger games that probably counted more for as a mini game than a micro game. But these are all bite-sized, really fast, really snappy. Do this. It's a reflex thing. It's a concentration thing. It really helps you get better at video games and your lightning reflexes. As things speed up, you got to move really fast and do the task again. But sometimes they'll throw in an obstacle where you have to dodge an extra enemy or you have to stop for a second. It'll try to fake you out and you have to try to guess what's going to happen. It definitely keeps you on your toes. This game has seen several releases in different places. Like they've broken out a lot of the mini games in different places. I believe it popped up on DSiWare. A couple of the mini games popped out from there. This was actually ported a year later to the GameCube as Mega Party Games. It was focused more on multiplayer, which was really cool. I definitely picked that one up, and we played it not as much as the Game Boy version, but we did enjoy quite a bit of WarioWare on the GameCube. Did you pick up that one, the GameCube version?
Oh yeah, I definitely did. I feel like I might have put more time into the GameCube version at the time. Anyway, I remember picking it up and just eating it up there for probably a few weeks at least. Now over time, I always end up going back to the Game Boy Advance version of it. But yeah, I definitely picked it up, and I remember I guess just while we're talking about the GameCube one. There was some fun little multiplayer modes. I wish they would just kind of port that version to the Switch or something. I think that would be great. And I remember like some odd little unlockables in that one. Like there was a music video of someone like writing a letter, I think in Japanese, and I think the song was even like in Japanese or something. So I didn't understand like any of it, but it was kind of pretty, and it was just like an odd, non-related thing to unlock in the game. But that was kind of the nature of just this whole series is sometimes you'll unlock things or see little weird hidden gems that just are completely off the wall. And I guess that's part of the charm to it.
Yeah, there's an off the wall story like littered throughout the game as well, and eventually all of these cast of characters all come together to help Wario out and create this video game. Basically, he cons his friends into making money for him by making games, and like he tries to do it himself, sitting on his computer. You know, he boots it up, old style computer, and then he's like starts to fall asleep. He's like, I know, I'll call up my friends and dupe them into helping me out. And so that's how you meet this cast of characters, and they're all called to his house, I guess. I don't know, just different locales that they meet in the different games. But so this package had a whopping 213 micro games. Wow, a lot of bang for your buck, honestly. It had cutscenes in
Yeah,
between each item, like each scenario as a start cutscene, end cutscene, and even then, the mini games were presented within the cutscene. You know, scenario. Whether it's through a window on 9-volt playing on a Game Boy, like you're playing on the Game Boy screen, or you know, like what is it? I want to say you have Jimmy's like dance. What was Jimmy's? He's all about like disco and has that fro going on and everything. He was on a flip phone at one point in time. I don't know if this was this game or not.
uh,
That's the one thing about the Mega Man, the Mega Micro games is they kind of blend together in a lot of ways. So
yeah,
there's a reason that the series has taken other paths. Most recently, I think the last Wario game that came out, other than Gold, which was kind of a collection of all the best games, was Game and Wario, which was less micro games and more like mini game style things, and it did focus on using the gamepad and on the
yeah.
Wii U and what have you. Um, I don't know.
And the best thing on it was like a Pictionary clone.
We absolutely love Franks. Like launching Franks, like
Yeah,
I spent
yeah.
hours with my in-laws playing that game. It was a blast. So the studio.
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say with the original, looking back at it now, like you said, some of it does kind of blur together. I think I've played every game in this series, or at least close to it, and a lot of them they do take from like this original title. Um, so I guess it does take a little bit of really looking back at what was there, but yeah, it doesn't seem like a whole lot like of. Um, I was gonna say replayability, but a whole lot of variety. But it's one of those things that's just like super addicting. I guess if you didn't get it, you just
Hmm.
don't get it. You know what I mean? But if you get it, you're
Hmm.
sucked in. Um, One of my favorites I kind of wanted to point out was with Nine Volt, and where his like everybody had their own different themes. I think one was everything was kind of themed around food. Like you might be catching a drink that's scooting across the bar, or you might be eating a hot dog by pressing the A button within like 3 seconds or something. Yeah, like simple tasks like that, because that's what a lot of these things were. But then non-volts were themed after pretty much entirely like old
Hmm.
Nintendo games or IPs in some form. So some of those, like one was Ice Climber. I'm trying to remember exactly what you did in that one, but I know Metroid was one. Like you had to, I think you just hit B or A or something a couple times to shoot like Mother
Hmm.
Brain, and you do that real fast. It would pop up and say hit A, and then you'd have to, you kind of have to use your own um, reasoning, I guess. It's almost like a
Hmm.
puzzle. Like it'll tell you a button most of the time, but you still have to think, okay, wait, I have to shoot this thing, so I got to hit this really fast, something like that. But along with that, like one other one was F-Zero, and you had to, if I remember correctly, you basically just had to control your machine for a few seconds until the time was up on it, which is usually like
Try not to crash against the walls of
yeah, yeah, you'd have like three
the
seconds
enemy
to not blow up.
opponents.
And then Donkey Kong, the arcade was one of them. You had to jump over the barrels. But there was also some cool stuff in there, like some more um, deeper dives, I guess, like Ultra Hand. That old thing had a mini game mixed into there. Mario
Hmm.
Clash,
Hmm.
which was an old, almost said VR game. um,
Virtual Boy.
Virtual Boy. There you go. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
was an old Virtual Boy game. It had a mini game in there. Sheriff. So that there was some deep cuts in there as well. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Probably the first time I saw some of those things, and it didn't quite click with me back in 2003.
The game has its like gross factor in that Wario is kind of gross. Like he's an anti Mario in a way. He's he's not afraid to pick his nose. I think it starts out like the beginning cutscene is him like lounging on an easy boy or lazy boy, just like finger stuck up his nose, And there's a mini game where you actually have to time the finger, hit the hand to launch it to land in the nose hole, basically. And sometimes it'd be like one finger, and as it gets harder, like it could be two fingers. You try to get the two lined up to go into both nostrils, and gross stuff like that. And then like he eats garlic and transforms. Like he's gross.
Part of what was crazy,
It's so
that
weird.
I guess was like you would be trying to pick your nose for you'd have 2 or 3 seconds to figure that out, but then it would blip over to the next mini game, and you'd be avoiding barrels or eating whatever it may be, or trying to stay out of a searchlight or something like that. So you really had to shift gears on what you were doing very quickly. It was all weird.
Yeah. So I was reading up on the development here. I did pull it from the wiki page, but I'll go ahead and kind of read you a little bit of it. It started out as a kind of a Mario Paint successor, Mario Artist Polygon Studio. So that's interesting. They kept the fly swatter in there. It was initially going to be on the 64 DD. That obviously didn't come to be. Basically, it was given the option to make three-dimensional models and animate things. It kind of devolved from there, to say the least. The game was put together by Post-it notes to come up with microgame ideas. Basically, they'd work on other things, and whenever someone had an idea for a microgame, they'd write it on a Post-it note and just kind of, put it on the director's table. And after a while, like people in R&D1, Nintendo R&D1, everybody seemed to know about the microgame thing, and everybody had their own like ideas that they submitted, and 213 Post-it notes later, you've got this package of a game that is so. What were they thinking? But it was the whole team thinking of different random things to do that are micro games that are just silly, pointless tasks, but fun, Nintendo didn't even know about the game. It was a secret project. They presented the game to the manager. The manager said it was okay, According to Yoshio Sakamoto, Wario was chosen as the game's protagonist as he is always doing stupid things and is really idiotic. Yeah, that fits Wario for sure. At least how they've portrayed him going forward. He has harebrained get-rich-quick schemes. Like, he's all about the money. So that's how they kind of launched this whole idea, was he's going to get rich off of video games.
I was gonna say, I guess it was kind of meta in its own way at the time.
It did receive a GameSpot. It was awarded the Editor's Choice Award and was nominated for its Best and Worst of 2003 in the Most Innovative Game category.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, it's a great thing, but it's also kind of a bad thing. It's kind of awful in its own respects. I gotta say, though, I am not the family member to go to for the most hours played in WarioWare. That would go to my sister. She would steal my Game Boy, and she took over my Game Boy Advance and would play WarioWare. And eventually, I was like, I got the one for GameCube, so I'm like, you know what? You can have this one. So I gave it to my sister, and I got her, I think it was a red DS. It was the Mario Kart one. I got her Mario Kart, and then I made sure that she had her own Mega micro games as well for Wario. And she just loved that. She played it all the time. Like, she's obsessed. And that was the thing we really bonded over. Like, we fight like cats and dogs all the time. We kind of get each other, but we get on each other's nerves if we're in the same area for longer than a few hours. So, but this is one thing that brought us together, and we played WarioWare together, and it was gross and fun, and we love it. I actually I have not actually played WarioWare Gold, but I did buy my sister. I got her. I think it was the one of the Wedge doorstop 2DSs. She's got young kids now, and I got her a copy of WarioWare Gold so she can continue playing that and Luigi's Mansion, so she could, play her nostalgia. And that was really cool. And I did want to shout out real quick. I know I didn't say it and what I'm like Radical Rexing about, but congratulations to my sister. She just had a baby boy, and his name is Charlie. And I have not yet got to meet him because of COVID. It'll probably be a while before I'll get to see him, unfortunately. But congratulations to my sister, and I hope that in the times that you're sitting there doing not a whole lot, while nursing and what have you, I hope you're able to play some micro games.
Yeah. Nice. So Gold actually came out. That was a little bit into the Switch's lifespan, even, wasn't it? I think that's.
Yeah.
I actually don't have that one, and I think that's why I ended up not getting it. Is at that point when the Switch came out, I think I bought Samus Returns or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and I love that. But I was kind of done with the 3DS at that point. I was hyped about the new thing, so I ended up not getting that version of it. So I can't really speak for that one. I have not played that version.
Now I do know it was on sale. It's on sale right now, I think, for like $25. But there was a price error or a flash sale a couple weeks ago, and it was available for $9.50, and I didn't catch it. I guess Wario64 tweeted it out, and I completely missed it. I would have loved to have picked it up at that price. Absolutely would have loved picking that up, because like I hear WarioWare Gold is it's golden. I hear it's good.
Yeah.
So it's the one Wario game that I've never gotten. Yes, I did get the Wario game for what was it? It was a DSi WarioWare game, I believe, but it didn't work for me because it was basically facial recognition, or it followed your eyes or something like that, but it would not work with glasses on, and I couldn't play it. So, that was the one Wario
I
game I
believe I
never got
got
to
that one.
experience.
Yeah, it was like a WarioWare themed one, wasn't it? I'm trying to remember exactly. Man, that's been years since I've touched that. But yeah, I remember that one. I'm wanting to say there a roller coaster in it? Maybe I'm crazy.
There could have been.
Uh,
WarioWare has evolved with strange peripherals. The DS one, or the Game Boy Advance one, was just the micro games. The DS one used the touch screen. And then there was another Game Boy Advance game, Tilted, that actually used a gyroscope. So you'd actually turn the Game Boy from side to side.
yeah.
And actually had a feature where you could flip it. So if you're playing a Game Boy Advance SP, it would follow that control scheme, like reversed, reverse axis or whatever. But yeah, you twist it and do different micro games that way, and it gave new ways to play micro games. And then there was another one, like the facial tracking that they did. There was
There was one on the Wii actually. I played a good bit of.
Yeah, they had a lot of the waggle motion, smooth moves. I believe that one was.
Yeah, yeah. Me and my wife played that when we were dating. Actually, funny enough, I guess thinking back the title of that. Anyway, sorry,
Are you good?
got a little
Oh, you played with your wife. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. That was kind of one of those. Like the Wii was the big thing when we started dating, and that was one of the games we played a lot of. I always think of that. Did you play that one? Um, Brian, did you play the Wii one?
I did, yes. Yeah, I played it quite a bit.
And one thing I always liked about it, I don't think it was in any of the other games, but just one of those quirky things was the instructions, like the little tutorials, where it would just kind of break out and do like that slow kind of monotone voice thing, and it would show you different, ways to hold the remote, like the umbrella. I'm trying to remember some of the rest, but I always thought it's just kind of one of those WarioWare things where it doesn't really need to make sense.
There was really. That was the other gimmick. Okay, there's one I was forgetting about. I don't know what the weird one was called with the camera element for DSi. It was like flipped or something like that. I don't know. But then one of the other gimmicks that they introduced was being able to create your own mini games, and they split the series into two separate games. I want to say it was available on Wii as like
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think there was a download version of it. Maybe you could play the games on that.
yeah, there was a
I
digital
believe it was.
version that you could play the
Couldn't.
mini games that you or the micro games that you make, and you got. But if you had the DIY DS game,
Yeah.
you could actually create the mini games, like create your own micro games, and actually create the music in it too. And then you could actually send it over to your Wii and play the games there on that game. And they had other games you could play as well. But they kind of added that gimmick to where you could make your own with DIY. It was interesting for sure.
Yeah, I like being able to make your own levels and things like that in games. Like I love Mario Maker and all that sort of thing. I got this. I don't. I remember struggling with it a little bit. It was a little complicated for like a 2 second mini game. So I kind of wish they would evolve that idea a little bit and maybe bring it back again. I would be all for that. Maybe make it a little bit more user friendly.
There is crossover with the Rhythm Heaven series. I don't know if it's in the first game or not, but they're very similar in how they're run and everything.
Yeah.
But and as the games go on, they add more cast of characters. Like there's a sensei, like character and a ninja boy or a who's learning how to do his martial arts or whatever. I believe they're separate from Cat and Kit. Then there's like a microphone guy, Mike. He's a robot made by Dr. Krygor, I believe. Ashley is mentioned. A lot of cool characters. There's a doctor of some sort too, like not just Krygor, but like there's like a female doctor. I don't know much about her. I don't remember much about her, unfortunately. But it's
There's
really.
another Volt character too.
Oh yeah. And then they also talk. Everybody knows if you've played Smash Brothers in the last generation. Everybody knows 9Volt's mom. She's the one that pops up out of the TV with the demon horns and sends the fighters flying if they're standing in the light. Straight up from WarioWare. It's awesome. Good times. I could just go on forever about all the crazy, crazy games. WarioWare Snapped was what it was called. It came out in 2008. Weird. Twisted was the motion control one.
Yeah, that's actually, I guess outside of Gold, I didn't play that one either. I forgot about that one.
It was good. I definitely picked that one up. Like I said, I bought Snapped, but I was unable to play it. I was pretty like kind of downtrodden after that one. But I did enjoy a lot of smooth moves. I think probably the best version of WarioWare is probably Touched, in my opinion. Smooth Moves is pretty close, and then Game & Wario isn't really considered a WarioWare game. Definitely not in name. It is the black sheep, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's got that same spirit to it, and I try to take the series into a different direction. But then after that, of course, they had WarioWare Gold. So it wasn't completely kicking the whole thing to the curb.
I think with Game and Wario, it was decent, but there just wasn't enough. Like I said, we spent the most time on that and the Pictionary mini game for multiplayer.
And in that aspect, like it's kind of Jackbox games became that evolution of those types of things. Those party games that they were doing. You can get kind of an evolution of that through Jackbox, I would say. And the different packs that they have there. And I like that WarioWare took that direction. We haven't really talked about Wario. Is it Wario Man? Is that what they call him? Like, what is his super version?
I believe so. It's in Smash Brothers as well. I think
Yeah,
that's what
it's
it is.
Wario Man. Yeah. He's got garlic all over, like, on his outfit. And he's got the W on there. It's a pink outfit with hot pink gloves, and a purple, like, cowl, I guess, and cape. And he's like, gas powered and crude, and it's so random. Yeah, Wario in WarioWare is basically fart jokes and boogers and things like that. I want to say they even have some bodily functions. I want to say there's like a statue of David or something that's like peeing, or Cupid or something that's peeing. You have to like pee on something. Like, it's got even some potty humor there.
I think there is. Looking back at some of the genres, so to speak, the micro game ones for the different characters, like Jimmy T is sports and Dribble and Spit stuff, sci-fi and all this. I remember is it Krygor? His is reality, and I think that's where some of that stuff popped in. I remember in one of the games specifically, I think, it involved a toilet.
There's that one where you're like brushing teeth, I want to say, or something like that.
Yeah, there is.
And like you're fighting off like evil cavities, and it's so weird. Or like evil germs.
Yeah, I think you have to like just move back and forth on the control pad really quick or something. But yeah, there definitely was. It sounds so weird to explain the whole thing. I feel like this is definitely one of those series you have to try because it makes no sense, and I don't even know if it sounds great just trying to explain it.
No, probably not.
Yeah, I think one of the at least the way I would maybe recommend like one of the cheaper ways if you don't have like a way to get a hold of touched or something, you can play the original on the Wii U if you have one of those for like $8, so that's not too bad.
Yep. It's on we use Virtual Console. You can download that. If you're a member of the Ambassador program on 3DS, you did get a copy of that game.
Yeah.
But you'd have to have an Ambassador system to do that. Of course, you can pick up the GameCube game, and then you can find the Game Boy Advance game as well. I'm sure those aren't too expensive. The GameCube game might be a little bit more of a rare one. I'm not 100% on that, but yeah. Some of these games are just so quirky and fun. The personality is just so charming in its own ways.
Yeah, if nothing else, if you've never tried it and you have no other way, I would at least recommend like looking up a video or something of someone playing through part of it, just to at least get a good idea of what this is about, because it is really hard to compare to anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like he said, maybe if you played Rhythm Heaven, I guess the flow is similar.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Like weird things where you like crash a test dummy, or like you tilt a ball or tilt a level to get the ball to fall in the hole like randomly, and then the next moment you could be picking a nose with a finger or sawing a log, and once you've sawed that log through, it'll show a brief display of like a bird popping out of the log where you just cut it, or like there's so many like random things that go on, like you want to see all these different Easter eggs and things. You never know what's going to happen, and it's always that surprise factor and that thing that just makes you laugh because you're like, what is going on? Like, I can't even keep up with all the random things that are happening in the background. Some of them,
yeah, and it would break up. Sorry,
go ahead.
I was going to say it would break up a lot of them with at the end of it there would be like a boss. Now, if you were in the mode, you could just go on forever until you have like 4 mistakes and then it would be over.
Mm-hmm.
But there always was like a boss in a lot of these that it wasn't like 3 seconds. Usually it would be a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when it was a boxing mini game, like you had to time the way the punching bag or whatever was coming back at you. And one was like a little mini like RPG thing where you're going through this dungeon and you're like, hey, this guy used this. What do you want to do back? And you'd have to select it real fast. So there was a little bit of that would change up the pace a little bit. And then the farther you'd go, the faster it would get, and things like that. So it wasn't all, I guess, complete nonsense.
Some of the NES games that you saw, you got Balloon Fight, Duck Hunt, Donkey Kong, F-Zero, Family Basic, which I think is just a computer programming game. I'm guessing it was Japan only. I don't know for sure. Super Mario Brothers, Dr. Mario, Ultra Hand, like you said, Hogan's Alley. You mentioned that as well. Of course, Zelda pops up in there. Ice Climber, yeah, there was Ice Climber game. I want to say you just jumped to catch the pterodactyl at the top.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Urban Champion was in there. Wild Gunman, yeah.
I remember the Zelda one too. I think the Zelda one was like walk in the dungeon or whatever, or the cave or whatever it was. You would just be out in the middle of the field.
You're just like,
get the sword.
Here, take this. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this. Like that kind of idea. You just walk in and you get a little congratulations. You did that thing before. It just whisks you away to the next micro game. Some of the themes.
I actually just remembered what the Game Boy one was.
Yeah.
Sorry. Is that the one where you had to insert in the cartridge?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm wanting to say, I could be wrong on this. I'm wanting to say if it turned around, you could see the game. I might be mixing that up with another WarioWare one that's similar, but I'm wanting to say there was different games that could pop up, and the little Game Boy would turn on. But that might be a different WarioWare game I'm thinking of.
I know you're actually playing on the Game Boy screen in 9 volts.
Yeah.
Some of the themes of the micro games. There is the sports one, which is Jimmy. Interesting, like Jimmy is disco, that 70s feel, like all about music and on the dance floor and stuff like that. But his games are all sports themed, and he has a couple of remixes too, where he has different colors of hair, and you play through those versions. And it was on his flip phone, cell phone. You played that on, I believe. And then you had sci-fi, the aliens and things like that, robots, what have you, with dribble and spits. They were all about that sci-fi feel. Strange Games was Mona. Like you use a fireman's hose to put out a fire on a house, like random things like that. Pinching a chicken, I want to say there was like something weird like that you had to do. That was the one with the nose, like the gold digger was what it was called, where you had to try to get the finger in the nose, and like dry eye, you had to put the drops in the dry eyes, and like it's like, what? Why am I doing this? Like, what is this even? And then they bring on 9 volt with this Nintendo Classics. You can play through those. That was really before Virtual Console. I mean, you had Animal Crossing to play some of those games, but still. And then eventually the e-reader came along. I think probably I got into this, probably got into e-reader or micro games because of each other, I think, which is that desire to play those classics in some form. Orbulon was all about the IQ stuff, like doing quick math. Very much what Brain Age stuff became today. And then reality was Dr. Krygor, like you said. There's a cat sleeping. You have to do something to make sure that the cat doesn't wake up. Very strange. Eat a banana. Dodge traffic because you're on the wrong side of the highway.
Yeah. It's like a Frogger sort of thing.
The bosses were really cool, though. They were definitely mini games. After doing all these micro games, it throws you into this mini game. I want to say one of them had like this old school RPG, like text based adventure type RPG.
Yeah, there was.
That was really cool. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. I wish I could tell you which one that was.
They do kind of all blur together, like we were saying earlier. Even with the newer iterations, a lot of times the graphics don't necessarily do a whole lot.
Okay, so yes, it was Dungeon Dilemma, was what it was called. It was one of Mona's games.
Huh.
And like you go through this text-based adventure and you come up across these enemies. You could use good magic or Gouda magic. You got to select the correct one, and this is boss fight that you fight. And there's an option to kick, to kite, to kick. Spelling games. You'd try to pick the right spelling of something and tell what you wanted to do was to kick the enemy or whatever. Like weird game. It was basically a Dungeons and Dragons type boss game.
Yeah.
Stranger and stranger. Nature was Kat and Anna. They're all about playing out in the woods and fields and things like that. So any kind of bugs or pets. There's even a worm mini game, monkeys, like things like that. Just anything to do with like outdoorsy in nature was their theme. Um, and then there's kind of anything goes, which mixes all the games all together. You never know what's going to be thrown at you. Um, and then there's the really hard ones at the end where you go up against Wario basically as Wario Man and finish that all out. I believe they called it, the boss was called Wario's Adventure. You were like playing a mini game of running a gauntlet where you're like skating on a skateboard 1 minute and then you're like trying to avoid a box that's trying to crush you and to get to the treasure. And like you just kind of run through this whole gauntlet by hitting A at certain times and do different things. And they get progressively harder the more you go through these mini games and faster, and that's kind of the challenge to them. Good memories. I need to go back and play this game again. uh,
For sure. I think this would be one of those. I don't understand why they don't just take something like this and make it sort of like a, I don't know, like a value title on the eShop, slapped on there for $20 or
mhm.
something.
Yeah, such a good game. I can't tell you. It's similar to like you're trying to sit there and explain why Animal Crossing is fun to somebody. It's like I don't get it. And it's,
Yeah.
it's kind of like that WarioWare. It's like I don't get the appeal of this, but it's addictive gameplay. Like you want to get better, you want to get faster, and it builds your gaming reflexes. Like that's what I basically did with my sister. Was like, you want to get good at games, like play WarioWare. That'll get your reaction speed up to speed, and then you can go and play other video games because you're able to react to whatever things are thrown at you. At a moment's notice. That's kind of the allure of playing the Wario games.
Right.
Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. It was fun talking about Mega Micro
I think so.
games.
I think so for this one. I didn't realize how difficult it really is to sort of explain it until you get there. You can just kind of jump all over the place with it.
Yeah, the charm is just abounding in this whole game, and I loved how it introduced Pioro. I'm a big fan of Pioro now, with the birds and beans mini game. I always thought it was something else, like it had existed before. I feel like I saw Pioro on like an ad, like a magazine ad in Nintendo Power or something like that. So like I instantly knew what the character was, but I didn't know why. Um, I don't know. I had to look that up and see if Puro did appear in some ads or something. Like I said, a bird character that's tongue works kind of like Yoshi. Um, do you have any final closing remarks?
That is pretty much all I have to say on it. Like I said, it's kind of one of those things that I feel like we've explained it, but there's not a whole lot else to say on it. It's simple, but it's really addicting once you get into it. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, if you don't know much about it, then just go check it out the best you can, be it YouTube or somewhere else. Um, yeah, I hope to see it come back. That's about all I got on it though.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do with this, with the Switch and the different things the Joy-Con can do. I'd like to see how they use the IR camera in conjunction with you know, the motion controls and just the touch screen, and they can do all kinds of different things with the Switch and the way that it's set up. And I can't wait to see how well they harness that and see what the future of this series brings. That's not to say that I don't want to see a Wario Land here soon. It's been too long, but I'm definitely up for a WarioWare game. Come again. All right, I'll go ahead and lead us out. You can find the show at thenintendovillage.com/Nintendo Nostalgia, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. You can find us on Facebook at Nintendo NOS, on our Twitter at Nintendo_NOS, on our Instagram at Nintendo NOSIN. Shoot us an email at nintendonostalgiain@gmail.com. You can also give us a call on our hotline, share your memories, and show us some love at 317-969-5690. That brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next week for another Game Boy Advanced episode. Later.
Bye.